everything you're saying right now is dirty. A reach around and grab the ball. I mean, come on, dude. Everything you're saying right now is pretty dirty.
There you go.
Bro? Sean's not here right now, so it's just me and Fred. Fred, cover your ears. Listen, fuck Ohio State. I hate Ohio State, and I'm sorry, Michigan fans. We're going to have a tough year.
Captain America, the nicotine stopper.
He's the most special human being on the planet. I love Devon A-Chain. He's amazing.
Sean made a offline bet. I'm back. Wait a minute. That's not the bet. That was not. Well, fucking A, man. I don't know your goddamn bet. You're not plugged in. Goddamn, you walked out without telling me. Goddamn. That was not. I was going to try and do like the whole Giants uniform. Right there with the blue and the red. You know? I broke out my old hockey helmet.
They're so fucking bad. Montreal Canadiens.
What you expect?
Yeah, Canadians are too, man.
The Canadiens. Everybody's good. We watched football this week.
Dude, it's back.
Back.
Poor rat.
4th and 3. Amigos! There you go. That was a lot better. All right. So we're going to start out with introducing Freddie. So if anybody doesn't make the podcast, Freddie is going to sit in for them.
I might have a surprise for that.
He's Freddie the Cactus.
He ain't sitting in anywhere.
Jesus. Okay. So he's got surprises. First week of football, guys. I know we were all excited. For me, every league went horrible except for 2. But here we are. We got a beautiful Thursday night game this week with the Chiefs and Ravens. It came down to the wire.
What about Xavier?
I love Xavier. I love the speed. You know what else I don't like about Xavier, though? Every little wide receiver that I saw this week was bouncing. Like, they would get hit, bounce off the ground, and out of bounds, like a ping pong ball.
Silly putty.
Dude, I got so nervous. What do you got with this game?
Just in general, the thing I didn't like was I saw a lot of helmets come off. Is it just me, or did more helmets seem to come off in week 1 than you've probably ever seen before?
New helmets.
You're worried about helmets? I'm worried about illegal formation. Holy shit!
No, you were talking about bouncing. And speaking of bouncing, what was bouncing on the ground a lot were helmets. But anyways, with this game, I'm not concerned about Mark Andrews or Derrick Henry. There was a lot of concerns just with the how Isaiah Likely was used in that game, and he was great. It bugged me how much the Ravens played the short passing game, even though I have Zay Flowers on one of my big Dynasty League teams, which you guys are all a part of. But so many short passes, they didn't do anything really creative with their offense.
33 yards for Flowers. That blew my mind.
He got a pass every other throw. I think the reasoning behind that, or the reasoning that they had Andrews almost as like an extra left tackle, was they couldn't stop the pass rush. I'm more concerned about their offensive line. And if they do need to play this short game of dink and dunk, they have the weapons to do it. But again, we saw how Saquon is without a line in New York. Is this what Derrick Henry's running into, where it's like, Chris Jones is in the backfield before anything else happens.
Well, last year in Tennessee, Derrick Henry didn't have a great offensive line to run behind either, so I still think this offensive line is somewhat of an upgrade, but the interior of that line has a lot of work to do. That being said, I do feel like the Chiefs' defense front 7 is probably a top third of the league unit for sure, given they got Chris Jones and some really good linebackers, and George Karlaftis. He was a solid complementary piece on that line and quietly kind of had, I believe, 8 or 10 sacks on the year last year.
So we lost Sean for a minute. The dog got something that he shouldn't have. I want to talk about game of inches. If Likely had Deion Sanders' toes, have you ever seen Deion Sanders' toes, how they're crossing?
Yes.
That would have been a touchdown. If he had Deion's toes, that would have been a touchdown. And we would have went into overtime. That's how close that game was. I was really happy with that game. It started out the year really well. Let's move on. Let's go Birds Pack. We got a rare Friday night in Brazil. We kind of went over last time we talked on, the size of the stadium was a little bit small, but the fact that the Eagles locker room was soundproof, the Packers locker room had sound pumped into it. We went over a lot of the stats and a lot of the fun facts before this episode, but watching that game, it was ugly. As an Eagles fan, here's my outtake of it, is we won a sloppy game against a playoff team where we didn't have that last year in the last 7 weeks. We beat the Giants in a similar game, but shit, I mean, I don't know, man. I felt the game was very sloppy, and we came out with a win, so I was happy with it.
I'll tell you this, what I liked a lot about the Eagles, what I hated the most was the field. The field was absolutely atrocious. I blame that to a degree for what happened with Jordan Love.
I looked back at it, I was like, oh my God, is this the Super Bowl all over against the Chiefs with a different turf? I don't know what warm-ups look like, but obviously they weren't slipping in warm-ups, but I don't know. The field conditions were horrible. For me, with Jalen Hurts, it was a coin flip. I saw some beautiful passes. And then I saw interceptions in the end zone. Drive all the way down the field and run the ball. Sean, I want a former New York Giant, Saquon Barkley breakdown. I know that you saw the first few and you're like, stutter step. But again, we talked about the turf. When he got his cleats, they were drilling his cleats on the sideline. So talk to me. It sounded more like RoboCop, but
thanks.
Talk to me about the stutter step, and I mean, we saw it effective when there's holes.
So I've never seen that before.
Neither is Barkley.
I know.
That's a crazy part. Barkley was like, stutter step, oh my God, there's no hole.
Slip.
Oh my God, no, wait, I can drive a bus.
Touchdown.
I can drive a bus through this shit. I'm out.
Yeah.
That catch was beautiful. Like I said,
the first two plays, I was in my glory.
You were.
I was in my glory.
You were.
He
did.
And then it backfired right in my face.
Oh, dude, I'm clapping from the other room. I am, he heard me the whole game. Trust me.
Stutter step.
Yeah.
Right.
I was gonna say though, the one thing I did really like was Kellen Moore. Really good system. If Jalen Hurts does not do too much, which I feel like the interceptions and turnovers were a byproduct of, that offense can be really something special with that personnel. A healthy Dallas Goedert at tight end. Obviously health is a blessing for any NFL team for all 17 games. But if Jalen Hurts does not get in the way and need to play hero ball, you can't tell me they're not going to the NFC Championship at worst. I feel like.
At worst,
you just lost one of your competitions. I mean, Jordan Love, is he going to be the same?
Well, they're saying 6 to 8 weeks. Jordan Love played good. Reed, I thought it was a great play with Reed. He was the one that I picked out of the trio of their wide receivers.
Me too.
Yeah, I
didn't start him.
I drafted him. I traded him away last year, but it's okay. I'm happy that I saw that with him, and unfortunately, Love got hurt. The Packers have this system, right? We have Favre, right? Rodgers literally turned into Favre, right? He got disgruntled. He was pissed. He hated Green Bay. He left Green Bay pissed off. Where'd he go? Jets, just like Favre, okay?
Right.
Last year, Rodgers gets hurt, first quarter, first game. What did Love do? He gets hurt. They do have franchise quarterbacks. They do pick their quarterbacks out. They do great with it. I was impressed with that team. Their defense held up really well against our offense. And they're going to have to really rely on that defense for the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Because it ain't going to be Malik Willis. Yeah.
Malik Willis, he was overdrafted in Tennessee. It was just there was no teams really wanted him, and they kind of took the same approach. Not that they didn't need a quarterback when they took Will Levis last year, but when they took Malik Willis, like nobody was gonna take him because he came from like Liberty, and then he gets to the NFL, and it's just he's pretty much a running quarterback. It's like a lesser version of Marcus Mariota, who ended up pretty much busting out for them. So it's just you're trusting a guy with not a lot of experience.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
Who was the most impressive rookie this week for you? Mine was Jalen Daniels. And what he did with the running game, he's got a lot of growing up to do. He fumbled 3 times. He had, he had his turnovers. He's a rookie. But I was really impressed for fantasy football wise. All right. Obviously, if you're a Washington Commanders fan, you are not liking the turnovers. You're not liking, some of the things that he did in that game. But you got to remember, it's his first game in the NFL, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, by the second half, he started feeling comfortable. Wasn't pressing too much. Ran for a couple scores, which definitely helps fantasy. But there are a couple guys I'll point to as far as rookies go. First being Brock Bowers. He's the real deal. I mean, he's obviously one of the most highly touted tight ends that ever came out of college, especially in recent times. But I think he's going to be a really good security blanket for Gardner Minshew or whoever plays quarterback for them, Aiden O'Connell. That team's not going to be good. They're going to need to throw the ball a lot. He's dealt with some health issues early on before the season started, but I think he's going to be an excellent player, and I think the Raiders, although they have a guy from Notre Dame, Michael Mayer, Bowers brings a different receiving element, and you can play him in the slot. They can use him like Dalton Kincaid to a degree, how he's used on the Bills. So they can play the 2 tight end personnel and have some fun with it.
How many leagues are you involved with right now? And how many leagues do you have Tyreek Hill in?
The degenerate in me has 9 leagues, and I couldn't draft Tyreek Hill. I didn't have a top 3 or 4 pick in any of them. But, I mean, I wish I would have.
Yeah, so you don't. So the news of him getting arrested, it killed me. I was sitting there, I'm like, I got Jamar Chase, I got Tyreek Hill, and I got Marvin Harrison in one league. I got that's like my trio. And when I saw him getting arrested, I'm like, oh, no. Because I know that Chase, he's battling that contract still. And Marvin Harrison Jr., I didn't know what to expect because he's a rookie. So I saw my season just get flushed down the drain, and then, everything calmed down. Had a great game. I want to talk about the celebration. I thought the celebration was amazing. I think that shows that the locker room's behind him. Obviously, his lineman came to his rescue. I know that they got at least detained, right? Just for stepping in and saying, no, what are you guys doing? This isn't right. I'm not going to get into how the police handled it. I don't want to touch that. But I do think that the celebration was amazing, and they're having fun with it. A fun locker room is a loose locker room. It can take you so far. I mean, I look at when the Phillies won the World Series. I look at a lot of these teams that have that camaraderie, and I could see the Dolphins making a deep run this year.
They've always been a fun, loose team, though. The difference for me is, can they protect Tua? Can they play defense well enough? And does Tua have a big enough arm to be able to consistently go toe-to-toe with a Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen? And I feel, as somebody who lives in Jacksonville, roots for the Jags as well, they were handed that game on a silver platter by Doug Peterson, Travis Etienne. The momentum shifted on 2 drives. Etienne runs up the middle. He gets inside the 5-yard line. Peanut punch. Fumble.
Hate to see
recovered
it,
in the end
Hate
zone.
to see it.
Very short time later, Tyreek Hill, bomb, touchdown, goes the distance, 80 yards. The Jaguars just could not recover from that.
Waddle got hurt, came back again. I believe he had over 100 yards again. But seeing the news pop up every few seconds of him hurt, not hurt, not hurt, kind of drives me nuts with that. I'm going to go and talk about some of the injuries and some of the concerns that you might have. DJ Moore went down for a little bit in that game. I haven't seen an update on him.
I've not seen. I thought he came back in the game though, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so too. He was a little disappointing this week, but it's going to take a while for Caleb to get his sea legs. Puka Nacua going down. Hello, welcome back, Kupp. As long as Kupp's healthy, he's going to be a number one. He's going to be a league changer. I think I got him in the 5th or 6th round just because it was a redraft league, and people just didn't want to touch him. What can I say about him, man? I love the guy.
He saved me in a couple leagues too. I was down in Ant-Man's league. I was down by a good amount, and it's a full PPR league. And he got me, I believe, 31 points. And then I had Sam Laporta too, who didn't really do anything, but catch after catch after catch, and then next thing you know, he gets that touchdown late, and it's like the intimidation factor of playing a guy with Cooper Kupp is back, and it's just you don't know how long it's going to last. But
so here's my question with Cooper Kupp: do you sell high and try and cash in? And he's getting up there. He's constantly injured.
It's a tough question because I've been on both sides of the coin with that.
I know it's a tough question. That's why I asked you, man.
I'm like, a couple of years ago when he got hurt for the rest of the year, and I think like week 8 or week 9 he was done. He was still like the number 1 receiver in the league, and I had thought about from time to time selling high, kind of like week 6, week 7, week 8, that area. It's certainly possible in one of my leagues that I either trade for him or trade him away, because it just depends how far along he goes. And it says now with Puka, speaking of the Puka injury, he's on IR, which means he'll miss the next few weeks. But Sean McVay, I think, was saying he'll probably miss a lot longer than the few weeks that he's on IR. So that's something that's pretty daunting.
So Walker today came out. It was an oblique issue. Do you think Charbonnet's going to get a shot? And any type of injury with a running back scares the hell out of me, man. Because Walker had a great week. He had a great week and went down late, kind of like Jordan Love. I'm kind of excited to see Charbonnet to get a lead role for a week. But as a Kenneth Walker owner, I'm not so excited.
Yeah, Charbonnet is really good in the sense of when they drafted him, you kind of thought he was going to be the 1-2 punch with Walker, but Walker's kind of separated himself to a degree. But he's also a really rock-solid back. Came out of UCLA, was very, very highly touted as a pass catcher and a full-blown runner. I don't like that offensive line. I'll just say it straight up. That offensive line is hot garbage. And Geno Smith in that first half could not get anything going. They were safetied twice by the Broncos, by a team that gave up 70 points last year. Oh, my goodness. It was so bad to watch. But, I mean, that's why you have a veteran like Geno back there, because he can adjust, and they ended up pulling off the win. And it was kind of impressive given how poor the offensive line played.
I'm a JSN owner. I like him. I like him a lot. I'm still waiting for that breakout, but he's got some people in front of him that are amazing. A little scandalous. I don't know if you saw this, but CMC not playing week 1, most likely out week 2. We don't know yet. It's day to day, I think, at this point. But after the game, Jordan Mason blew up. He had a great game. I'm happy for the kid. After the game, they're like, "When did you know you were starting?" He's like, "Friday." But CMC wasn't on the injury report. So now San Fran has an investigation on what they're reporting for injuries and such. I know every team does it, but and this poor kid probably got shit from upper management and things of that nature. But I thought it was pretty funny that he was honest and he was open and he's like, yeah, I knew Friday I was starting and here I am. We're gonna kick ass. I'm happy for him. I really am.
He looked fantastic, and I'm shocked. Like, as good as he looked, and I'm not taking that away from him. The Jets' defense that's been as hyped as it's been the last few years because their quarterback's been so bad, but their defense has been so good. Now their defense, I mean, again, it's the 49ers who probably have the best offensive scheme in football, but they look lost. And Robert Saleh worked for Kyle Shanahan for quite a bit, and he just didn't look like he knew what to do with that defense. On top of that, I mean, they've seemed like they can plug and play just about anybody at running back, and they'll get the job done. But Mason looked outstanding. No, Sean and I cashed out on some bets and some trades, and that was a lot of fun.
So
now that you're back.
So we were trying to trade CMC, and he's trying to send me back offers. And during these trade proposals, we came up, I'm like, do you want Jordan Mason? And he says, I'll give you a 4th round pick. I bet you he doesn't get 10 points. And I was like, I'm in. And that's how it started. So then later that night, I went into DraftKings and found that he was plus 800 for a touchdown anytime. And I put $4 for the 4th round pick. Hit it. Ching. That was the bet.
You should have put $400 and put your money where your mouth is.
The best part was the plus 800. The next day went to plus 145. Cha-ching.
So
Cha-ching.
I parlayed Jordan Mason anytime touchdown with a Breece Hall anytime touchdown. And unfortunately, the bet for Mason was a plus 150 on the anytime on the Hard Rock app. But parlaying with that, I'd put in $2 and won $8.50. So I was like very happy about that. And Sean won his 4th round pick. And I mean, honestly, I forgot it was 10 points. I thought it was if he scored a touchdown or something, then you got out. But it was 10 points. But he didn't need the touchdown to score 10 points, which was the other crazy
Towards
part.
the end, yes. But it was at 5 points at halftime, and I was like, this is going to be close. And then the touchdown came, and it was over.
Game over.
Sorry, Goose.
Boom. Swish.
Yeah.
Eddie!
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I don't, I'm just pissed at Fred for,
fucking up the story. God damn it, Fred.
God damn it, Fred.
What else you?
So while I was gone, let's talk about Captain America, the nicotine stopper.
It's a luchador mask. And he's not a nicotine stopper. He actually starts it up.
More to come.
There's more to come with Captain America over here. So, Sunday Night Football, Lions-Rams. We talked about Cooper. We talked about Puka. He out. Start of the game, Jameson Williams. Are you concerned about Amos St. Brown?
Not at all. 2 completely different wide receivers, and Laporta didn't do anything really either. So it was kind of one of those things where they just rode the hot, explosive hand with Jameson Williams and used the run game to set all that up with Monty and Jahmyr Gibbs, and it was just a outstanding game for him. And he's a guy I loved coming out of Bama. A lot of shit was happening to him, and finally everybody was kind of seeing what he can be. And I could not be any happier because I've been so patient with him in dynasty leagues. So freaking patient. And it's so...
all that tells me about your dynasty team is that you got time. You got time. You got this guy just sitting on your bench. I thought the same thing, man. I really did. I'm like, this guy, like, damn it, I drafted him like 3rd overall. I know he's injured, this, that, the other thing. 2 years, and he finally has a game. We've seen signs. We've seen signs of it, but I was happy with that. I don't know how many more how many memes I can take of Monty running people over, like, don't get in my way. I thought that was great. I think that they're a very balanced team. And honestly, Detroit, for me, I would love to see you in the Super Bowl. I would love to see an amazing Thanksgiving game that is leading to a Super Bowl. So please, from Philly to Detroit, let's go, man. Let's get you guys over that hump. Let's get you through this. Let's go. I love that team. I love watching them.
They're so likable. And, like, for Monty, that's, like, fourth quarter overtime. That's why you have a Monty, because he's a big bruiser and the defense is tired by the fourth quarter. And they just know how to dictate the game on offense now, and they never did that before, probably 3 years ago, for pretty much the entire existence of us and probably our parents. They just were never anything special offensively.
Like, if you look back on like what quarterbacks they took and things of that nature, they finally got it right with Goff, who is a game manager. Let's be honest. Like, he's not going to go out there and sidearm something like Mahomes.
Or Stafford, their former quarterback, who's great, but.
Right. Well, Stafford was great, but with Detroit, he was hurt. He didn't have the weapons. Everybody in Detroit retires early because they're like, got my money, thanks, I'm out. Leads me to my next topic of quarterbacks. And do you think that the Browns would be better with Baker Mayfield today than Deshaun Watson and that debacle? That was hideous. Watching that game. Just put him in a wheelchair now, because Deshaun Watson is on his ass more than he is on his feet. I look at the contract. I look at Baker's success. Like, he had to take a back seat and go to LA under Sean McVay. And then he got his own team with Brady retiring. They needed a quarterback down there. Dude, there's so much I want to talk about. Mike Evans was fucking phenomenal. The question,
he's a Hall of Famer already.
Yeah, the question stands. What do you think the outcome of Watson and this deal is going to impact the Browns?
So I was having the conversation of would they be better off if they had just kept Baker, and I'll get to that in a sec, but yeah, Deshaun Watson, what's shittier than Deshaun Watson the person, the quarterback you saw on Sunday? And somehow that's the case. And the Cowboys, to their credit, they're a really good defense, but that was probably as bad as I've seen like a Zach Wilson kind of play, a Nathan Peterman type of game. It's just abysmal, atrocious. And I feel bad for Amari Cooper and David Njoku, who won't be playing, but I just feel because they're really good players and some really good guys. But as for the Baker situation, I had the conversation. I think if he had stayed with the Browns, he would not be who he is now. And the reason why I say that is because you mentioned he went to the Rams, then he went to the Panthers, and then he went to the Bucs. He needed that humble pie and the expectations of a number 1 overall pick off the shoulder so that he can mentally just let loose and just play the game that he can have fun with. And has a cannon of an arm. Mike Evans is the perfect outside receiver for him, who throws a good deep ball. And Mike Evans, 6'5", jump up, go get it, and is one of the better all-around receivers that in today's game, history and legacy kind of thing. And then Chris Godwin is a flat-out stud. And the offensive line is solid. And he had that with the Browns, but it's just he feels like he can just let loose, have as much fun with his weapons, throw it wherever he wants to, and they will make plays. And he just said, he'd said, I believe, after the game, something along the lines of, like, he hadn't had this much fun playing football, like, anywhere else, especially pro career-wise.
Johnny Football, baby. Is he back? I think the big story down in Tampa was Godwin's touchdown. And, I feel that him and Baker didn't have that connection the last year. But it was good to see that. It was good seeing that, he's got options. And you're saying security blanket with Godwin, like, shit, any throw you throw up to Mike Evans, you're like, 50-50. No, it's probably like 70-30. Like, he's going to get that ball. Like, it's like putting a bowl of dog food in front of a dog. Like, dog's gonna eat it up, and Mike Evans is that dog. I love that, man. So.
And I don't know if you saw the first touchdown catch he had it was a smaller cornerback, but he played really tight coverage on him. And the way Mike Evans was able to read the ball from Baker and kind of reach around and kind of cup the football when it came to him, it was just kind of like, it was dirty. It was just flat out like.
I mean, everything you're saying right now is dirty. A reach around and grab the ball. I mean, come on, dude. Everything you're saying right now is pretty dirty.
There
okay,
you go.
Bro?
There you go.
There we go. All right. So that brings me to a highly anticipated game with the Jets and 49ers. I thought that game was disappointing. Rodgers is not back. He does have his favorite receiver, Garrett Wilson. Breece Hall, okay. The Niners destroyed. They destroyed, man.
Yeah, it was pretty much a bloodbath. And to Rodgers' credit, when the Packers played the Saints Week 1 in Jacksonville, I went to that game a few years ago, and the Saints destroyed them with Jameis Winston throwing like 5 touchdowns on the Packers, and it was probably one of the worst games you could ever see Rodgers and that whole team play. And after that, Rodgers was pretty much had a damn near perfect year. So that's the one reason I'll say I won't bet against Rodgers to go out and perform in week 2 and so on. And the Niners they're a Super Bowl contender in the NFC, and everybody knows that. They're probably one of the most well-built teams that just can destroy anybody at will. Rodgers didn't have any of the chemistry with a lot of the guys, given that he only played a few snaps last year, and it showed. That really showed more than anything.
Going against that 49ers offense, I think that they will, that Jets defense will prove themselves. They need to get, back into form and things of that nature. Your biggest surprise of the week as far as fantasy, I mean, like, we had that Isaiah Likely explosion. Do you have anybody that was like a really standout guy this week that you were just like, yes, it's happening?
I was so happy for J.K. Dobbins.
Yes.
Through the moon happy for J.K. Dobbins. I mean, I know you're a Michigan fan, so you hate Ohio State, and you probably hated him when he was running all over the Big Ten there. But the talent was undeniable and is undeniable. So I'm so happy that he found a home to a degree. We'll see what happens here with the timeshare of him and Gus Edwards and how that offense functions, because it really wasn't that good of a game from either the Chargers or the Raiders. But J.K. Dobbins, just seeing him back in action, you saw him being able to kind of take what was given to him at the line and find holes and just go through. Now, the long run he had, he didn't show a whole lot of burst after about 20 yards. He was kind of like slowed down a little bit with the legs, and they were chasing him pretty good and catching up to him. But the talent was there. And if I remember correctly, he had, numbers-wise, he had the most yards before and after contact in the league, average-wise, I believe it was, on Sunday, which that's not much to go on, but...
The aspect with that, the coaching had faith in him. He's coming back from a pretty serious injury that took him out for the year last year. You didn't know what you were going to get. Like, I had both Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, and I was trying to push both of them out. Gus wasn't there. Gus didn't take the goal line carries. He maybe had like 4 or 5 carries throughout the game, and it shows you that that coaching staff is going to really push J.K. Dobbins towards, fantasy relevance. Fred, cover your ears. Listen, fuck Ohio State. I hate Ohio State. And I'm sorry, Michigan fans. We're going to have a tough year. After that first game, we're going to have a tough year. And, Blue got their championship. So there you go, Fred. Sorry.
Yeah.
Fred likes Ohio State.
I mean, yeah. As much as I think Texas is going to be really good this year, I'm surprised they gave him the business the way they did.
Oh,
it was bad.
All right.
It was bad.
All right, so that's all I got tonight, man. Like, some games that you might be excited about going into week 2.
Yeah.
for me is that Sunday Buccaneers Lions game. It's a good test for Baker and the group to go against that Super Bowl caliber Lions team. I'm excited to see where the game goes. The surprise game of week 1 for me was the Bengals versus New England. Didn't see it coming. I looked at every game and I'm like, this team could win or that team could win. I thought the Bengals had it locked up. I was wrong. New England came out and played. This week for me, I want to see that Buccaneers-Lions game. I want to see what Baker can do against a good team. And if Baker does come out and play ball and it's a close game, I'm picking Tampa Bay to win the South.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting for sure. I mean, when you think about that division, Carolina's abysmal. That shellacking they were put on by the Saints was just a joke and a half. That organization's in the dumpers. But anyway, the game I think I'm most excited about, you might laugh at me for saying my second game that I'll bring up, but the first game I'll bring up is Chicago and Houston.
Okay.
Sunday night. Okay. Two young quarterbacks who really could be the future of the league. And as much as Caleb didn't produce, I was watching some of the throws he was making, and they had a video of like every snap and every rush he had. Very conservative game plan. He really did not throw beyond 8 or 10 yards from the line. But this other game that I'm very interested in, because I think there's a little bit of a story here. The Giants and the Commanders.
Yes! I was going to bring that game up, man. I was. Because, I look at it. I talked a little bit about Daniels and his game earlier. Please, go ahead. Please, just do it.
So, my thing is, if Daniel Jones is still really bad, then he won't torch this Washington defense that's also really bad. And Jaden Daniels went up against the front seven in Tampa Bay that's very experienced, very well coached under Todd Bowles. The Giants defense gave up 28 points to Sam Darnold, and almost a perfect passing game from him in that regard. I believe he started like 10 for 10 or 11 for 11 and kind of looked like the greatest game Sam Darnold probably has ever played in his life at MetLife,
But it was like a Madden game, dude.
I think Jaden Daniels, if the Giants get just so demoralized by how bad Daniel Jones is, I think Jaden Daniels can probably feast a little bit and score probably 3 or 4 total touchdowns in some way. And I just don't. Neither of these teams are going to be good this year, but it'll be just kind of fun to see what stats get brought up in this game for fantasy and who ends up looking pretty good in this.
I don't know if you saw Neighbors on, it was either Twitter or Instagram. It was one of the social medias. Neighbors is like, I'm due for a breakout. Let's go. Like, that confidence, I love him. I just picked him up in, my league. I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited to see what the kid's got. I look back at OBJ, and OBJ was kind of like a little surprise to everybody. He made the catch of the, century. Can we say that, maybe? Yeah. I don't know. Made an amazing catch. After that, he wasn't really anything. But I'm excited about this kid. I know he's a rival, but what makes rivals amazing is the fact of the competitiveness. So, I'm excited about that. So I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to say follow us on Instagram. We will be posting this episode to YouTube. So follow us and subscribe on our YouTube. 4th and 3 Amigos Podcast. Okay?
Let's go.
Let's go. What you got to sign off with? You got anything to sign off with?
Let's fucking go. Subscribe, like, tell your friends, share, comment, all that fun
Luckily,
stuff.
we got a rat in our league, and when you see one rat, there's a fucking million behind it.
So let's talk about this really quick, because he traded you James Conner in my league. Well, I'll make this quick, I promise. He traded you James Conner in my league. giving him 0 running backs after the draft. This is a dynasty superflex draft that he's traded literally everybody. And he then traded for Ken Walker, but he really could have used a James Conner instead of putting in Blake Corum, who got 0 snaps for the Rams on Sunday night. And James Conner had a really good game for the Cardinals. So it's just those kind of moves. You can't overthink things. If somebody can produce like a James Conner, and you just keep riding the hot hand and try and win as much as you can.
All you're trying to say is you need those older guys that just get points. It doesn't matter. You know that James Conner isn't going to have a blow-up week. He might have a 2-touchdown, 50-yard game. And that's the high side. But you need those players on your team. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Fred is here. We got the Luchador here. Sorry Sean had to bail. We'll see you guys next week. Week 2, let's go.